Hello my loves, I'm Ellie Frost, and on this channel we're talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And this video is about the spiritual truth behind narcissism. When you're with a narcissist, right, you're not just under physical and emotional attack, you're under spiritual attack. A narcissist is soul detached on the spiritual level. They've made a decision to go dark. They've made a spiritual choice, right? Which is why they have no empathy, no conscience, no remorse, no guilt, no shame. They're completely shameless. They don't care about how much they hurt you. In fact, that's exactly their agenda. They want to be trauma bonded to you. They want to cause you pain. They're a very destructive energy. So spiritually, they're soul detached. They're operating with an entity of consciousness that we're calling narcissism, which is why they all act in the exact same ways. But what's really dangerous about a narcissist is they act in the psychic realm, which is why, like, you might have found, when you have been rebuilding your life, suddenly they contact you again. Or when you're at rock bottom, they intuitively know, right? They're working in the psychic realm. So in order to heal from narcissistic abuse, we have to break the psychic ties. I've got videos on this channel that tell you how to do that. I've also got my program Sovereign, which you can join on a payment plan for just $55 a month, but it will help you break those psychic ties, because a lot of what goes on is in the psychic realm. It's like hijacking your brain. You become obsessed with them. You become completely, like, everything in your life becomes about them. Even if you're using the grey rock and stonewalling methods, right, you're still being controlled by them, because you're still a human reaction to them rather than who you really are. So although those are great methods in order to help you get by, like, actually none of us want to live our lives having to stonewall or grey rock someone in our lives. Like, we want to actually be authentically expressed. We want to be our true selves. So it's a very disempowering way to live, right? They are great tactics in order to keep yourself emotionally safe and protect yourself. I'm not saying that they're not, they really are. But ideally, we want to be around people where we can express ourselves and be more of who we really are, not less than. Yeah? So spiritually, right, there's light and dark. The narcissist has gone dark. I made a video a long time ago and I was talking about my brother. He's a complete narcissist, right? But he's got the same kind of gifts that I've got. I've got very psychic, intuitive gifts. He has too. He just uses them to manipulate and exploit people, whereas I use mine to kind of heal and, like, empower people, right? And when I was about 7, he sat me down and said, you're the good angel and I'm the bad angel, and the problem with you is that you've got a conscience and I don't. And that is a narcissist. No conscience, no accountability, no responsibility for the awful ways in which they behave, but they're operating in the psychic realm and they're trying to hijack your brain. So you become obsessed with them. So you can't stop thinking about them. After you leave a narcissist, it's very common to keep ruminating, right? They make you think that you're the one to blame for their terrible behavior, but it had nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. Yeah? So you have to understand that this is a spiritual war. It's been written about since the beginning of time. Ancient wisdom. Like, people said to me, are you a new age? And I say, no, I'm not new age. I'm actually channeling ancient wisdom. Stuff that we've known about. It's written in scriptures. Like, there is light and dark on the planet. There is good and evil on the planet. A narcissist is on the dark side. They're a destructive energy. They thrive and get off on bringing you down, keeping you away from your true purpose, your true expression, your true, like, potential in life, right? When you're traumatized, it's very hard to manifest. You can still do it through trauma, I have, but it's very hard to, like, create what you want in your life because you're vibrating at a very low energy. Yeah, so a lot of what I teach people is manifestation and how to actually start aligning with what they want to create in their lives. Because when you're with a narcissist, it's not about what you want and need. It's about what they want and need. It's about them bullying you and devaluing you and diminishing you into a shell of yourself that literally just serves them, so they can siphon your energy in the psychic realm. They're the ultimate energy vampires. Yeah? So you become less and less of yourself. Whereas around healthy people, you'd be encouraged to become more of yourself, to achieve your potential, to go towards your dreams, to like, express yourself, to be true to who you are and what you want and need. That's true authenticity. But with a narcissist, you're just being devalued and diminished the whole time. And really, you lose your identity in this cycle. You don't know who you are anymore. You don't even know what you want and need. Like I said to my client the other day, because I was raised by narcissists. So like, I didn't think I had a preference. Like people would say, what do you want to watch? What do you want to eat? I'd be like, I don't mind. What do you want to eat? What do you want to watch? And I honestly thought I didn't have a preference, but that was just because I wasn't being connected to myself. Like when I learned how to connect to myself and my heart and my truth, I do have a preference. I prefer to eat certain things. I prefer to watch certain movies. I actually do have those things. And you can't be happy, like fully happy, until you're like literally in connection with your heart and actually what you want and need. That takes getting to know yourself. That takes letting go of the people pleaser. That takes letting go of the manipulation tactics from people like narcissists and actually coming home to yourself. That takes building a relationship with yourself. Come into my program Sovereign, because you'll learn how to do this brilliantly. But like, it was easier for me for a long time in my life not to have a preference, because I just wanted to be liked. I just wanted an easy life. I just didn't want to cause like any conflict, right? And I was teaching someone the other day that like actually being okay with conflict is sometimes like a very healthy thing to do, right? If you're standing by your own values and your own boundaries. Yeah? Because what we don't want to do is keep self-abandoning. Yeah? What we want to do is be true to ourselves, and that is true to what we want and need. And sometimes we need a little bit of help in order to come into that and to actually start realizing what's true for us and what's not. And when we're just like trying to survive around narcissists, we put our needs last. We don't even like connect to them. But that causes a lot of problems. And that's why a lot of people get ill in this cycle, right? Autoimmune diseases, just strange things, happen to our physical health because we're emotionally like suppressing ourselves the whole time. And when you suppress your emotions and aren't processing them and releasing them and actually honoring them and the message that they have for you, you often get physically sick. So a lot of people go through this cycle and get physical ailments, right? Because it's not good for your health not to be true to yourself. But a lot of us don't even know who we are in it. We've been bullied and manipulated and coerced into being what the narcissist wants and needs us to be, rather than who we really are. And it happens on happens on an emotional level, a physical level, often a financial level, and a psychic and spiritual level, right? So the first thing to do is to come into your heart and come home to yourself. You don't have to live this way. You don't have to live stonewalling and grey rocking and treading water and being manipulated and never knowing where you are. Like actually you deserve to be like loved and cherished and abundant and joyful and happy and, peaceful and, excited about life. But with the narcissist, it all becomes about them. We become a human reaction to them. Rather than who we really are, we're just responding to them, trying to keep the peace. Yeah? Trying not to get the next tantrum, trying to please them, trying to appease them. One of the trauma responses is fawn, which is the people pleaser, which is like we fawn them, we try and build them up because we don't want them to like devalue us. But they're always going to do that. The longest cycle in narcissistic abuse is the devaluation stage. And it can be so subtle that you don't even realize it's happening, because it's like on little digs and little things and passive aggression, not just like, sometimes it's complete aggression, but sometimes it's just like passive aggressive stuff where they ignore you, or they just shoot you down, or they just deny your reality, distort your reality. It can be like those kind of digs. So sometimes we don't even realize we're being devalued. Yeah. I'd love you to share your experiences of this with me. And if you like this video, please keep liking, subscribing and sharing. I'm happy to talk more about like the spiritual aspect of it, because it really affects our psyche. It really affects our soul. It affects us on such a deep level. Like narcissistic abuse and like the trauma bond is stronger than an addiction, because an addiction to a substance happens on a physical and emotional level. Whereas narcissistic abuse, the addiction happens on a physical, emotional, psychic and spiritual level, right? So it's a very strong enmeshment. I hope you like this video. Lots of love, guys. I'll speak to you soon.